For those who are new or unfamiliar with my content, I would like to give a disclaimer. Slow Damage has an extremely self-destructive main character, and his nonchalant comments about his lack of concern for himself does trigger my nervous laughter. If you'd like to view my content that covers darker and triggering subjects like this one, please consume it responsibly and know that this content is not for minors. I want to emphasize that if you experience any of the severe symptoms that TOA does, I highly encourage that you seek professional help rather than view this playthrough. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Slow Damage. Welcome back! Last episode, we were finally able to finish Madarame's route! Okay, so we were able to get both the bad and the good ending. Because I let fate take over, and of course, Madarame was the one who I would get his bad end first. So, I think we're gonna try and see what happens. What we get first in this route, and then whoever, excuse me, whatever I get for Fujieda, we can do Rei and Taku's route, bad ending route after. I know that kind of seems like weird to end on a bad note, like to do bad endings, but I mean, it's fine, it's whatever. They're just bad ending, it's not that big of a deal. Madarame's bad ending wasn't even like too bad, honestly. In my opinion, I feel like Aoba's bad endings in Dramatical Murder were like way more severe. So like, as in like, what happens to Aoba is like worse than Toa, because at least in Toa's case, there's still some semblance of like, how do I say, enjoyment, as at least according to Madarame's bad route, but anyway, I mean bad ending. So okay, so today, we're gonna start the true route. We're gonna start Fujieda's ending. All right. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Oh, we're finally here. Oh my gosh, I mentioned it last time, but I'm getting really sad because I'm almost done with the game, you guys. I'm in the final route. I'm really sad. I'm really sad about it because I've really enjoyed myself. It's taken me a long time to play this game. I think in general it takes me a long time to play games these days because I can't just like binge them in one go anymore. I need to like break it off into pieces, for health reasons. I can't just binge it. It's like really bad. So okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm just like so excited. Okay. This part probably won't be too long. But it is the beginning, so I don't think it needs to be too long. If it does end up a little longer, we're in good spirits. But we'll make do. We'll see what we can do. Oh, sorry, I'm really excited, y'all. I'm really excited. I'm really sad because we're almost done. But we can finally meet Fujieda, like for real this time, instead of his passing by glance every so often. Okay, let's do it. I want to know what's up with Fujieda. I want to know. And we can maybe finally complete our painting here in the middle. So, the world is full of color. So let's go. Oh gosh. It's just these two, right? Oh, I'm so nervous. Why am I so nervous? Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm so nervous! Oh my gosh, sorry. It's like... okay, let's go, let's go. Ah! Oh yes, okay. Are you finally gonna find out everything, or is everything just gonna be a mystery? I'm scared. No! I've been watching over you all this time. All this time. Honestly, part of me wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. But I always believed that our wish would come true. And I still believe it now. Don't you? Is that wait, so okay. Desire. Oh, perfect. That's like perfect. So you know how I talked about how nitro+chiral has like a best friend character or like a childhood friend character? I realized all of them are childhood friend characters, and that's kind of okay. And I think that's kind of poetic, especially for a game called Slow Damage and a character who perceives pain as pleasure, like actual violence, not like, you know. But okay, let's go. Oh, let's go. Okay, shake the nerves. Come on. Okay, what a start. Okay. An ear-piercing scream woke me from my slumber. Going on. Oh, we're back here. Oh, thank God. I feel at peace being back in this room because, like, even though the ending, Madarame's ending was very bittersweet, but also oddly romantic. Even though his chapter was very stressful, I was very sad that that Toa didn't ever return to like his room, because it's the only ending in which he doesn't return to his room so far. So I'm at peace right now that we're in this room. So okay, okay, sorry. Okay, let's continue. Blinking repeatedly, I opened my eye and shifted my gaze. I could see the blinding white light of the TV faintly illuminating the rest of my room. I was lying face down on the sofa. Using both hands, I slowly pushed myself up into a sitting position. On screen, dramatic horror music played as an innocent woman was attacked by a villainous man. Oh, it was the TV, okay. The rude awakening combined with the binge drinking last night, or rather, a few hours ago, filled my brain with fog. I only stare blankly at the flashing screen. Apparently, the attacker was a vampire. Scarlet blood dribbled from the woman's neck as the man sank his fangs into her. Judging from the picture and audio quality, this was some old movie. But I kind of liked the unpolished feel to it. It was the perfect white noise for my fuzzy brain, and I stared at the screen entranced. The victim crumpled to her knees, and the vampire caught her with one arm. Her expression was pained, but the look in her eyes was faintly feverish. Ooh, spicy. So the camera zoomed in for a close-up of the man's mouth, his pointy fangs stained red. You know, sorry, it's not lost on me. I'm assuming, I thought the first guy in the tutorial of Slow Damage, I thought that was Madarame because I didn't really look up everyone exactly at first, and so I was like confused. So I totally thought he was Madarame like in passing. But it's not lost on me that they mentioned the word vampire in that tutorial, didn't they? And then I realized later that I was like, oh, it's Fujieda. Without his hair slicked back. So, okay, sorry, I just wanted to have my realizations, you know. Foreshadow, I love, you know, I know not many people like care too much about foreshadowing, but I love like foreshadowing. So whenever the foreshadowing is quite clever, yeah, or even just, you know, I'm just like foreshadowing. Like I really like it. So okay, sorry. I'm just being a nerd. Sorry. Okay. I found myself wishing he would bite me next. I was about to say, I was just like, Toa should have like a vampire homie to like help him out. I wanted to feel his teeth in my neck. What would it feel like? I couldn't help but wonder. We're back, baby! The next day, I was working the morning shift at Murase Clinic. The place was owned and operated by a longtime friend of mine, Murase Takuma, or Taku for short. This was his private practice, and he was the main practitioner. I lived upstairs on the 3rd floor while working here part-time as a receptionist. Naturally, I didn't choose this job of my own will. Taku was the one who insisted on it. Hey! Every now and then, Izumi Rei would rush out of the exam room, down the hall and back. Rei was a mutual friend of mine and Taku's. He also worked here part-time, though his main job was at a bar called Roost. The Roost didn't open until the evening, so he often spent his mornings working here with us.
Miyata-san.
Miyata-san! I called the next patient on my list. She rose from the bench where she was sitting and walked up to the reception desk.
600 yen になります。
600 yen? So cheap. Sorry. I processed her payment without once looking her in the eye, then automatically moved on to my next task. Before I knew it, lunchtime had rolled around. Is there no Ikuina in this chapter? I know that we don't go through the regular first chapter with Ikuina in this route, but I wonder if Ikuina is not even present at all in this route. I'm just curious. I took the elevator up to the 3rd floor to my apartment. There, I sat down on the sofa, lit a cigarette, and had a smoke. On a whim, I looked over at the easel and the flipped canvases scattered around. My art was the one thing I could call a hobby. Mostly I did oil painting, so my room always reeked of paint. That being said, I didn't paint on a regular schedule, only when the impulse struck me. So I could easily go months without ever touching my paintbrush. As I watched the pale smoke rise to the ceiling, the door swung open.
お昼ご飯作ってきたわよ。
Hey!
邪魔するぞ。
Taku! In walked in Taku and Rei, the latter of whom was carrying a big paper bag. He loved to cook and would frequently bring his creations to my apartment. For some reason, the 3 of us would always eat up here together.
またテレビをつけっぱなしにしてるのか。
The TV.
いつものことだけど散らかってるわね。
Listen! As soon as they walked in, they both started complaining. Y'all some nags! No. Setting aside the mess, I had a very good reason to keep the TV on as much as possible. I'd always been uncomfortable with pure silence. I didn't know why, but the absence of sound made me deeply anxious. So whenever I was up here, I kept the TV on, and that way the jumble of sounds would fill the gap.
するぞ。
Taku grabbed the remote and powered the TV off. Meanwhile, Rei tidied up the coffee table, then pulled a series of plastic containers from the paper bag.
今日のランチはね、ハンバーグとサラダ、
Oh, that
コ
sounds
ーンポタージュ、
good.
デザートにプリン
Oh,
もあるわ。
pudding! Ah! He opened the containers one by one to reveal each dish.
うまそうだな。
昨日ね、お客さんから美味しい作り方を教えてもらったの。
客？ルースとか？
そうそう。まあ、タク、お皿持ってきてくれる？
うん。
As they chatted, they worked quickly to set the table. Meanwhile, I leaned back against the sofa. I never had much of an appetite. I only forced myself to eat because other people would nag me if I didn't. Taku and Rei understood this, so they didn't comment on my disinterest.
それじゃ、食べましょうか。
Tabimashou! They set the table with enough plates, forks, knives, spoons, and drinks for 3 people, then sat down.
いただきます。
Itadakimasu! Oh man, I'm so hungry. I'm so
いただきます。
I had a little burger to tide me over, but now I'm like real hungry again. They served a portion. They served a portion of each dish onto everyone's plates. Then it was time to eat.
うまいな。
ほんとよかった。
Yokata. Oh, he's so cute. He's so cute. I watched them enjoy their food. Then they stopped and looked out.
どうは
Yeah.
その顔
He's not gonna
昨
eat.
日飲みすぎたんでしょよく朝起きられたわね
I recognize that. You drank it. Okay.
いや、映画で。
The movie. He blinked at me, puzzled.
映画に起こされた。悲鳴で。
深夜に放送してるやつか。ホラー映画でもやってたのか。
多分、吸血鬼。
Not
吸
Toa
血鬼
being
って
like.
言えばそういう噂が流れてるのを知ってる
Oh?
噂？
売りやってる子たちが被害に遭ってるらしいんだけどヒゲ面の男に買われてついていったら何かを注射されて体が動かなくなっちゃってその間に首に穴を開けられて血をすすられるらしいのよ
首に穴？
Taco grimaced and put a hand to his neck.
首に穴なんてどうやって開け
Yeah,
る？
what's he
さ
doing?
あ穴は一つだけらしいからキリか
The
なんかかし
one
らね
hole. Ew.
キリか。
でも実際は血を吸われてないって言ってる子もいるみたいそれに首に穴を開けられる以外は何もされないって
And you're just like laying there, like with a hole in your neck, just like bleeding. Like
あ
what?
とお金はちゃんと支払われてるんだってそばに置いてから逃げるらしいわ
Interesting. Frowning, Taco crooked a brow like he wasn't entirely convinced. Yeah, I'm like, that's so
な
weird.
んというか意図がよくわからんな。それを吸血鬼と呼んでるってわけか。
そうみたいね
Apparently, yeah. Apparently.
大げさだな。そもそも吸血鬼ってのは都市伝説、空想上の存在だろう。
私もそうは思うけど何か被害が出てるみたいだし
Ah, okay, yeah. Multiple. That's a running theme in this game. There have been multiple victims at this point, so must be true, and usually it is. even like the Madarame's ghost thing, the assault party thing, the drugs, you know.
誰かがふざけてそんな真似をしてるんだとしたら迷惑な話だ。もしくは
Maybe.
吸血鬼に憧れた末の犯行とかな。
They nodded enthusiastically.
その可能性もないとは言えないわ自分は神の子孫だなんて演説してる人もたまに見るし
Yeah, the delusional guys.
例えば吸血鬼の映画を見すぎて自分もそうだと本気で信じ込んじゃった人がいたのかも
Maybe.
とは、お前はどう思う？
Well, just wants to get bitten by one. Until now, I'd been listening to the entire conversation in silence. I looked over at Taku.
どうって言われても。
誰かからそういう話を聞いたりしてない
ないな。
そっか
The two of them went back to their meals like they hadn't expected anything different. I watched them for a moment, then reached over and grabbed the pack of cigarettes lying on the edge of the sofa. I pulled one out, but before I could light it, they glared at me.
ダメ食事中よ
I will say I have been kind of harsh on Ray a lot, where I'm like, stop nagging, Ray, or whatever. But I would be Ray. I'd be like, we eating? Are you smoking? I'm gonna pinch out your cigarette. That's actually me. So only cigarettes though.
わかった。
I shrugged and put the cigarette back in the pack. Vampire. Love that. Late one night, I'd finished my shift at the clinic I was on my way to roost when I stopped short. Huh? Thought I could hear voices down the narrow alley nearby. Normally, I would have ignored it and kept on walking. But I found myself oddly curious, so I approached. At the entrance, I peered through the shadows to the other side. I could hear something rattling, so I squinted to get a better look. Saw two male figures in an embrace. Oh, work, okay. Oh, look at me. Oh. Instantly, I lost interest and started to leave the alley. Oh, okay. But then I heard one of them groaning. Oh. Uh-oh. I headed down the alley to the other end where I approached them. Instantly, one of them leapt up, spooked. He took off running while his partner fell limply to the ground. For the briefest of moments, I thought I glimpsed a beard on the runner. Then Ray's story about the vampire flashed through my mind. Sorry. I don't know why I'm laughing at him. He just looks so sad. I crouched down and examined the other man, lying face down on the asphalt. He was a young guy, 18 or 19. Red fluid trickled from his neck. Blood. I didn't see any other injuries save for a round incision on his neck. Could it be? I pulled my phone out of my coat pocket and placed a call to Taku. How long ago was this? This seems like this was a long time ago. After the call, Taku and Rei ran onto the scene to carry the victim back to the clinic. They took him to the medical ward on the second floor, where Taku patched him up and put him on an IV while he rested. A short distance away, the three of us spoke in hushed tones.
まさかこんな近くで被害者が出るなんて。
Taku put his hand to his chin and frowned deeply.
首筋の傷は針みたいなもので穴を開けたのかしら。
I mean, it has to be a needle. He can't just be like stabbing people with like a pencil, like, you know?
針よりも傷口が大きい。キリぐらいはありそうだ。
キリ。
Ray grimaced like he was envisioning the pain for himself.
とは、犯人の顔は見たのか？
No, but there was a beard.
ヒゲ面だった。
At this, Ray's expression changed instantly.
吸血鬼の噂と同じじゃない。
I thought back to what I saw of the culprit. He was on the scrawny side, with a beard and a fearful look in his eyes. It wasn't hostility or malice or desperation. It was fear.
彼にも話を聞いてみるか。
Taku glanced over at the young guy lying on the hospital bed, then walked over.
気分は？
How am I feeling? That's a good question. The guy opened his eyes and looked back at Taku. Apparently he was conscious.
大丈夫です。
そうか、よかった。何があったのかを聞きたいんだが。
Is that I? He nodded and his gaze shifted upwards as he thought back.
客を探してたら向こうから声かけてきて、いくらだって聞かれたから答えて、それでいいって言うからついていったら、汚い路地に入っていくからちょっと嫌だなって思ったけど、そういう場所が好きな客もいるからまあいいかって。で抱き合ってするのかなって思ったら、首に何か刺したみたいな痛みが走って、
そのまま倒れたのね。
The guy nodded.
コートのポケットに入っていた紙幣はもともと君のものなのか？
いや。
He shook his head in confusion.
入ってたんですか？
うん。
じゃあそれは俺のだ。
どういう意味だ？
Taku looked at him skeptically.
あの男が俺に払った代金ってことですよ。被害に遭った奴らもみんなそう言ってた。
Oh yeah.
要するに 犯人があなたを買ったお金ってことよね。
だったらいいや。
He's like, it's fine. Sorry. It's like, well, you know, it's kind of like this and that. It's like, oh, you know what? I ain't mad about it. He paid. He didn't run off on me. But mood. No, honestly, mood. You're just like, did he pay though? I ain't mad no more. Sorry. He's like, it's fine.
どういうこと？
チクッと刺されただけで金もらえるんだから。
Yeah, it's true. He didn't even. Yeah, they didn't even like do anything. He just got poked. Taku and May stared blankly and exchanged a glance. Meanwhile, I watched quietly. Nice. The vampire victim didn't have any other injuries, so once he had recovered enough to walk, he left the clinic. I contemplated having a cigarette, but didn't have time to sit around for much longer. Instead, I rose to my feet and pulled on my coat. Free exploration! It's all under untown and hindered. Okay. Ooh, what a wild ride. Okay, let's save really quick. Save here. So we got a little space. Woo! Alright. What a party. Okay. Ooh. Okay, what we got? Ooh. Nightlife district. No business, no business. So let's just go everywhere. Let's just go. Let's go everywhere we can. As I always do.
Yo.
Ooh. What's up, Toa?
Yeah.
Oh, not much. About that patient we just had. You know, I find it hard to understand why young folks these days are so obsessed with money.
No.
And speaking of young folks, something real weird happened to me the other day. What happened? I was on my way home from shopping, walking down Toa Street when I saw this weird group of folks, all of them in their 20s or so. Every time somebody walked by, one of them would shout, "Free hug!" and glomp them. Free hug. They all had signs that said stuff like mutual understanding through physical intimacy and whatnot, but of course they didn't try to hug anybody who looked dangerous. But as I was standing there completely confused, some guy came up and hugged me too. It only lasted a second, but still, I mean, what's that all about, you know? Some people need hugs, Taku! He looks perplexed. Play along and respond? I think so.
Positive.
Well, I guess it's about mutual understanding through physical intimacy, right? But even then, why hug any old stranger? What are you looking for? Well, whatever. I'm going to go back to work. Gotcha. Okay. I bet those free hug people wouldn't dare hug you. Rude. Has it ever happened to you?
Yeah.
Nope, never. Could they just be? They could be they're just lonely folks. Maybe or maybe not. It is what it is. Tucky's such a grouchy old man. Oh yeah, no one would hug Toa unless like you got nerves of steel, because Toa literally looks like, you know, Toa's got like a bunch of scars on him. He's got an eye patch. He has like. He doesn't look friendly, so you're not gonna hug him because you're like, what if he stabs me? Like, not to be, but it's true. It's true. He looks a little scary, but I personally think he's very pointy.
トアじゃない。
Is it they?
Yo.
Oh no, it's Honami, Junko. Hey, Junko and I were just talking about Junkomi. Sounds like a surprisingly serious topic for you two.
やだ。
Hey, Hey, we know how to have a mature conversation. Rude, Toa. Toa's so rude. Yeah, we're not all fun and games all the time, you know. I see.
Hey.
We were discussing the differences between here and the mainland. Oh yeah, Junko, get a load of this. What is it? You know how the Takasato Gumi basically runs Shinkomi? Well, apparently that's not how things work on the mainland.
そうね。
I'm told they don't have any organizations like the Takasato Gumi that manage entire cities. I'm honestly so surprised. Well, they would be if this is all they've ever known. Isn't that crazy, Toa? Should probably answer honestly. Yeah.
ポジティブに。
I want all these answers.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
冗談でしょ
You're joking, right? What about you, Junko?
まあね。
I know that, silly.
そうか。
Not you too. Oh, you both made me look like such an idiot. Psh, it's fine. At least now you've learned something. Oh my god. This sucks.
それじゃあまたね。
Relax, would you? Come on, we gotta go. See you later, Toa.
はあ
See you later. Oh,
So
poor
did you.
Honami. See you. Oh, poor Honami.
うーん
I've only been to the mainland a handful of times. I wonder what it's like to live there. And is it just me, or is Honami taking this way too hard?
ま
Yeah, maybe a little.
あ
You think Ray knows about it too?
あ、いいんじゃないか。
You could ask. For my sanity, I'm not going to. So mean. Alright. Okay. Hey.
あら
Oh, Toa! What's up? Going for a walk? Yeah, you? I'm heading over to run errands right now. Hey, you know that young guy who got attacked by the vampire? He kinda... I don't know. I was just really surprised. But like, if he's fine with it, then I guess it's fine? Let's talk about it, honey.
あね
Oh, that reminds me. Hey, Toa, I made a discovery today that I'm super excited about. Can I gush about it? What is it this time? Guess what? They make tiramisu flavored liquor. Isn't that crazy? Oh, liquor, sorry. Why would it be?
面白いわね
What? It's tiramisu flavor. They turn cake into booze. You don't think that's kind of wild? I should probably be honest. I think. Isn't it this one? Wouldn't it be that one? Wouldn't it be negative? It says honest,
ネガ
yeah?
ティブに。興味ない。
Not interested.
も
Ah, God, I knew you wouldn't be. You're no fun. Ah, tiramisu liqueur of all things. What's next? A shortcake or cheesecake
う
liqueur?
気になるわ
God, I want to drink it so bad. Oh, yeah. They were not subtle with this answer. Why not ask the boss at Roost about it? Oh, you're so right. If anyone would know about it, it's him. Maybe he'll order
ま
it.
たね
Anyway, I gotta get going now. See you.
じゃあな。
See you.
うーん
You never drink liqueur at all, do you, Toa? What is it? Curious about that tiramisu booze? No.
ね
If I ever get some, you should have a teeny tiny taste with me. I am good. Oh, come on! Just a little. Oh gosh, after all that suffering from last chapter, it's like I feel so displaced. Like it feels very surreal.
Oh.
Oh, you. How we got rid of you? Sorry. Ah, I cannot stand these two. Ugh. Oh, hey there, Toa. How are you? How's it going? Good. Ah, good. Glad to hear you're doing well. Any issues? Not really.
そうか。
That's good. Well, the young folks have been on edge lately, so I've been worried. Something happened? Well, I hear some guys been skulking around, attacking people in dark alleyways and piercing their necks with something. Ooh, he wants an answer. Vaguely? I don't don't think he wants a vague answer. I think he wants like an answer. So.
それは
Oh, the so-called vampire guy? Vampire? I was wondering why I kept hearing the word vampire everywhere. Guess that explains it.
そうか
Right. I don't know why he's doing it, but at least no one's died as far as I know. Still, I'd like him to knock it off. Anyway, gotta run. See you later, Toa.
あ
See you. Okay.
とは
Be safe. Humans are unpredictable creatures. Oh yeah, sure.
お前
Need more spending money? No. If you ever run out, let me know. It's still like conflicting because it's like Sakaki is like presented as like one of the nicer of the Takasato Gumi execs, but like, and Tono's supposed to be, you know, the stupid one. But at their very core, they're both stupid. But Sakaki, I actually just want to know why Sakaki has like such deep loyalty for Toa, because he never really explains it. I mean, he said it was because like, who was it? He said like something of the nature of what do you call it? Because of Kaga's death. But I'm also just like, I don't know, like, is that really enough? Like, and there's also hints that it's because of Toa's mother, something, whatever, you know. I don't know, but I hope we figure that out this chapter. Well, it is the true route. If I don't find it out this chapter, I'll be kind of sad about it. Okay. Hey, Garashi. Oh, Toa-san. Hiya. Oh, why does he look kind of like down? Something wrong? You seem kind of down. Tell me about it. Get a load of this. Just this morning, Sakaki-san gave me some spending money. So I thought I'd treat myself to a nicer than average lunch. But when I got to the restaurant, I realized my back pocket was feeling empty. See, that's where I normally put my wallet, but apparently I dropped it. So now I'm tearing my hair out trying to find it. Aw, I sure hope some good Samaritan will find it and drop it off at Takasato HQ. Oh, my child. With Igarashi, we have to give him optimism.
ポジティブになるほど
I don't know about HQ, but they might take it to the police station. You think so? Then that's where I'll go. I'm gonna pray that it's there.
そう
Ah,
ですね
if I can't find it, I'm gonna be totally miserable, man. I'm gonna keep looking for a little longer. See you around,
わかっ
Toa-san.
た
See you. Okay. Don't be like me. Always keep an eye on your wallet. Oh, Igarashi. But if you happen to find mine, please let me know. I will. Maybe somebody already found it for
ど
me.
うだかな
Possibility is there at least. Why is Igarashi a gangster? Like, he is like not. He's not gangster material. Like, absolutely not. Okay. And as always, I check out the places even though they say, oh, there's nothing there. Just in case. Located. Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, yeah. I see. I always like to make sure, baby. You know what I'm saying? Okay. This is Hagalita Street, District B. Okay, yeah. I think I'm missing one more location, and that probably is in this chapter, I'm assuming. Okay. So we really don't need anything here. Entrance to District A, blah 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 blah. Okay. Alright. So I think To Roost we go. No business here. Oh, what does it? Do they just turn green once? So I'm just curious. I'm just gonna give for myself. Okay, so they just turn all green. No business, no business, no business, no business. Okay, to Roost! To Roost we go! Afterwards, I finally headed back to my original destination. Roost was my go-to bar of choice. The place tended to attract customers with unusual proclivities. When I got there, I spotted 3 of my acquaintances, Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji. The besties! Remember when I was so irritated with them before because I felt like they were always holding back, if, like, you know, they would show up and then Toho would be like, oh, JK, and I'm like, no! I want information! Drinking at the counter, and now here I am being like, besties! As soon as they laid eyes on me, they all waved me over. So I decided to sit with them and have a drink.
吸血鬼
Kotaro quirked his brow as he swirled his beer in one hand.
何それウケる
You get it?
ああ、最近ちょっと噂になってるやつですね。
Mayu sloppily slurped his cocktail while Eiji nodded eagerly. Following the flow of conversation, I brought up the vampire rumor. Since intel gathering was Eiji's hobby, I figured he would know about it.
噂そうなのか
はい、売りやってる人たちが薬を盛られたって話は聞きます。
Drug? Oh, yeah, that's right, because it's a paralyzing drug and then he's it's so weird. That's so weird. Sorry. That's just like kind of like weird, like you think he'd find someone to like how do I say that he could do the kink with, if it's a kink. I don't think it's a kink. I think it's something like Ikuina, but not as weird. I don't know. It's like how Ikuina just like, he didn't really want to hurt people or kill people per se. He just wanted to like, he wanted to see an open wound on a person, but it wasn't because he wanted to hurt them. It's because he was just very fascinated by open wounds type of thing. So anyway, sorry. I was just like, it's just, this was just like I know this whole game we've run into some very questionable things, but you know, it's just, it's been time. Sorry. It's just the drug is one thing, but then like the single poke is another. I don't think it's funny.
けど、首筋を切りみたいなもので刺されるだけで、実際に血を吸われたりはしてないらしいですけどね。
なんちゃって吸血鬼か。
ちょうど見たんだ。
何を
その現場を。
え、そうなんですか？
そうなんですか？
首筋に何かで開けたような穴があった。
へえ。ってことは噂は本当なんですね。
Just then, I sensed something and looked over my shoulder. A man was sitting alone at a table, drinking from his glass. Whenever he drained his cup, he would hastily pour more in from the bottle, then down it again. Then all of a sudden, he grabbed the bottle and started chugging from it like he'd lost his patience. Now the other customers were starting to take notice.
あの人、すごいですね。
Eiji murmured as he watched the man.
すっげえ飲んでる。
ああ彼
Oh, him. The manager whispered to us from behind the
最
counter.
近よく店に来るんだけど、赤ワインをすごい飲むんだよね。
Red wine.
とにかく喉が渇くみたいで。
Not the red wine. Red wine. Let's get. Oh, thirsty. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's our theme here, baby. It was him, the man who stabbed the prostitute in the alley. I didn't recognize him right away since he was wearing a hat and his beard was gone. There could be no mistaking him. I stared at him intently. Vampires! I'm sorry, I can't. He was startled. Oh, he was startled to notice me looking at him. And then the next instant, he leapt to his feet and took off toward the door.
お客さん、ちょっと。おい、トアさん？
I jumped up and ran out of the bar after him. I'm not gonna. Why are you running? Why are you running? Sorry. The man dashed through a dark alley.
おい。
I called after him and he slowed down. Then, right as I nearly caught up to him, ah! He whirled around and lunged at me. Unable to escape, I hit the ground. You okay, fam? He pinned my arms down and growled at me. I could see abnormally sharp canines peeking out between his lips. Desperate to escape, I headbutted his jaw. I thought he would hit me back, but surprisingly enough, he rolled off me onto the ground. I hopped up and looked down at him.
吸血鬼の真似事か。そんなに血が飲みたいのか。まさか本気で自分が吸血鬼だなんて思ってないよな。それとも血を飲まずにはいられない病気なのか。
Yeah, what's the tea? Give me the tea. The man flinched as he lay on the ground, his face turned away. Ooh, let's go. I know what that is. I know what it's time for. So I crouched down and looked him in the eye. I stared unblinking, like I was probing his deepest depths. I didn't have superpowers, but when it came to reading people, I did have a special skill. When I spoke directly to someone's face while maintaining eye contact, I could draw out their darkest secrets. I couldn't remember when I learned this skill. Maybe I was born with a knack for conning people. Word. Sure enough, the man's expression shifted and he slowly sat up like he was bewitched.
お前が抱えてる欲望、俺に全部話せ。
あんたは何なんだ。
Is he for real vampire? I will laugh my head off. Like, or is it just like body mods? I think it's body mods, isn't it? Talk to him and try to expose his secret. Okay, let's go, kids. Let's see what we got. Let's see. I'm so bad at interrogation.
Nah.
You're the vampire everyone's talking about, right? No, I'm not a vampire.
Positively. そうか。
Deny it all you want, but that's how people see you. Does he?
気になるな。
You want to drink it, don't you?
違う。
No.
言えよ。
What is it you desire? Tell me.
それは。
Desire.
Positive.
Well, if he's anxious,
不安か。
We're not fighting Madarame anymore, so it's not, I don't have to be like, I'm not, like, the mind game isn't that strong here, okay? It's something most people wouldn't understand, isn't it?
放っておいてくれ。
Just leave me alone. You're looking for help. It says fluster, but
Shadow.
You're looking for help, aren't you?
俺は。
No clue what you're talking about. Ah, dang it! Okay. I know
Yosh.
you.
わかるよな。
I know you. Liar? Okay.
どうした？
What's holding you back? No, I
Positive.
No.
それでいい。
I'm doing this interrogation. I don't know anything about this dude. Like, there's nothing weird about it. We all have our secret desires. Ah, Oh, you've got some pronounced canine teeth. Oh, darn. No, I don't think I should push him on the... You seem like you're struggling. That's not... I don't know! If you really don't want help, that's fine by me. Okay. What if I told you I could make your wish come true? Very funny. Let's be calm, let's be calm. He's like really anxious, so... Do I sound like I'm joking to you? You might get what... Okay, yeah. You might get what you want if you're willing to look for it. What I want... Okay. There's this one? Oh, okay. Because he doesn't like it when I say anything about the vampire thing or his teeth, so... Do you like blood? I asked him calmly, his eyes glimmered with uncertainty. You thirst for blood, right? Am I wrong? At last he looked up at me. His expression crumpled in frustration like he was on the verge of tears. At last he admitted it. I gloated internally.
全部わかった。飲みたいんだろ、血を。好きなだけ飲めよ。
そうだ。乾いた。乾いた。血が飲みたくてたまらないんだ。
I get it. Stressed. I can't. I can't. Okay. What we got, Toa? By the time I was finally free, the sky was already getting lighter. I stumbled home to my apartment. When I switched on the TV, the blinding light from the screen illuminated the dark room. Ow. I touched my neck. There I could feel a warm wetness. Blood. I wiped my hand on my pants, then pulled my coat off and walked to the painting corner where my easel was located. I changed into my coveralls, then grabbed a blank canvas and set it on my easel. As I picked up my trusty paintbrush, the memories rose to mind. I had to let the so-called vampire drink my blood. Are they not the same person? Or is it just... I'm just like... Okay. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. I never imagined my wish would come true. You've made me so. So what? Happy. With a period? Oh, girl. But partway through, I pushed him away. Oh, not for any particular reason. I just had a gut feeling that it was enough. The man looked disappointed, but quickly snapped to his senses. Then he wiped his mouth with his hand and ran off. After that, I came home. Didn't drink that much blood, and yet I spread my paint over the canvas, eager to capture the visceral raw feeling of the blood leaving my body before it faded from my mind. Blood red paint divided the canvas in half. What is it? Ooh. Wow. That one's cool. Wow. Oh. I sound so dumb. I'm just like, whoa. Oh boy.
埋め立て地の老朽化が深刻になっています。新興味の A ブックはかつての高里組の構想で廃墟となり、それに
血が好きなのか？
I asked him calmly. His eyes glimmered with uncertainty.
血が飲みたくてたまらないんだろう。違うか？
At last, he looked up at me. Expression crumpled in frustration, like he was on the verge of tears.
そうだ。
At last, he admitted it. I gloated internally.
落ちていく。このまま。
Okay, here it is.
いつかお前、人を殺すな。何人も。殺すよ。そんな、違うんだ。
Okay, it shattered fully. Okay, that's what we wanted. The other one didn't shatter all the way. It just shattered like halfway.
なぜなのかはわからないけど、血が飲みたくて乾いて仕方がないんだ。ワインで我慢しようと思ったけど、他のものじゃ。
The man clawed at his own throat as he spoke in a quavering voice. His lips parted as he gasped for breath, and I caught sight of those pointy canines again. I had to guess, this man probably had an appetite disorder like Pika.
飲んでもいい。
I looked at him blankly, gazing into his eyes like I was searching his soul. Panic rose up in his eyes, but he seemed unable to tear it away from mine.
その代わり、書かせろ。お前のその、抑えきれない衝動。
I spoke in a low whisper, then rolled up my coat sleeve and exposed my arm. The skin was laced with dozens of scars, warping the skin in a sort of pattern. I smiled at him faintly. The man took one look at my scarred arm and swallowed hard.
こんな体だ。好きにしろよ。血を吸うなりなんなり。だから、来い。
Alright. For a second, he froze in hesitation. Then he grabbed me by the shoulders. His hands were shaking. With a chuckle, I pulled the fabric away from my neck. Woo! But this time, he lunged at me without missing a beat. Okay, Tho. There was a sharp pain as he pierced my skin. Entranced, I closed my eye. Man didn't use an ice pick. He used his own teeth. I could hear a slurping sound right by my ear, and a coppery smell clogged my nostrils. I could feel my neck growing warm and wet. Apparently, the blood was trickling down from the wound and staining my clothes. I could hear my pulse throbbing unusually loud and hard. As I enjoyed the bizarre feeling of someone sucking the blood from my veins, I opened my eye, then closed it again. Oh yeah, he's gonna pass out. Or, at last, my dream has come true. And yet, for some reason, I find myself crushed by guilt. By the time I was finally free, the sky was already lightning. The front of my shirt was now completely soaked. Lightheaded, I stumbled back to my place and switched on the TV like always. The TV screen was the only light source in the dark room, illuminating the bloodstains on my clothes. Ow, that must have been a lot, if it's on. Grasping for breath, I stumbled on shaky legs over the trash and art supplies littering the floor. Hands shaking, I pulled my coat off and walked to the painting corner where my easel was located. I grabbed my paint-splattered coveralls off the floor and pulled them on. Then I picked up a blank canvas and set up my easel and sat down in front of it. My body was so heavy, the slightest movement sapped all the strength I had. Nevertheless, I picked up my paintbrush. My mind replayed the events from last night. After the so-called vampire had his fill of my blood, he snapped back to his senses, looked at me in horror, and ran off. Abandoned, I staggered dizzily to my feet, then used the wall to help me along. My heart was pounding 100 miles a minute. My extremities felt cold, and my mind was growing fuzzy. I was smiling. The sensation, the stench of blood, the look on his face as he drank from me. Ooh. Well, he's feeling spicy today. I thought hard, remembering and reliving as many details as I possibly could, and I dipped my paintbrush into the fresh paint. Oh, the wet dark lines shot across the canvas, tainting its purity. Ah, yes! Okay, ow. I slapped my own headphone. What a mess I am. Okay. Ah, mercy. I'm so close now. Just a little farther, and it should be within my reach. All this time, I've dedicated my life to one thing only: finding the truth. I don't regret a single second. Once it's all over, I'll lose all reason to live. I can accept that. To me, this world is hell on earth. Yeah! Yes? Scarlet light. See it spreading through my fuzzy and focused vision. Silence, darkness, fear. I didn't want to be alone. No one was there. I was afraid. Just then, I looked down. There in the watercolor world, I could see a shadowy figure. The figure was too blurry to see clearly, but I could tell that they were smaller than me. Still, I feel their strength. Something about it felt incongruent with the rest of the hazy world around us. I didn't understand. What exactly was I looking at? I didn't know. Ah! Brah! Brah! Blue.
埋め立て地の老朽化が深刻になっています。
Yes.
新公務の A ブロックはかつての高里組の紛争で廃墟となり、それ以来整備が行われていません。
Yes. Terrible.
おい
Oi.
おい
Oi.
起きろ。いつまで寝てるんだ。
My head hurt like hell. In addition to the headache, I could hear a loud voice. I squeezed my eyes shut, then slowly opened it. I felt like I had an awful, terrible dream just now. I couldn't remember what happened, but my whole body was freezing cold, like I was sweating buckets. I felt nauseated too. Not a great start to the morning.
もう昼だぞ。出勤時間はとうに過ぎてる。
Taku's orange smoke grazed the corner of my vision. Lethargically, I pushed myself up and rested my head against the back of the sofa. He crouched down and peered at my face.
お前な、常々思ってるんだが。
ああ、
Yeah.
おい、ちゃんと目を見て返事しろ。
My aching head felt like it weighed a ton, so I couldn't be bothered to lift it.
あるって。
おお、ならとっとと起きて支度しろってんだ。
Downstairs! With that, he ruffled my hair.
たく。
Exasperated, he sighed heavily, then set something down on the edge of the
ここに
bed.
置いておくぞ。
Oh? What are you leaving? It was my laundry, clean and folded in the style. Longer. I didn't ask him to do it for me, but he insisted on cleaning my room and my clothes, so the place won't turn to a pigsty.
たく。
ん？
薬変えてほしいんだけど。
どうした？
今のやつ、効きが悪くなってるかも。
At this, he frowned.
そうか。後で少し見るか。
ああ。
それじゃ早く来いよ。
With a gently chitting tone, Taku turned and left the room, his white lab coat fluttering behind him. The headache and nausea hadn't gone anywhere, but nevertheless, I forced myself to my feet. As long as I kept myself moving, maybe I could distract myself from it. With that thought, I grabbed my cigarettes and lit one up. Grimacing, I took a drag and grabbed some clean clothes at random from the stack Taku had brought me. After that back alley hookup last night, my body felt like lead. Not only that, but my sleeping pills gave me bad dreams, so yeah, I wasn't having the best morning. I felt the sudden urge to eat something, but I figured I could tide myself over with a little booze. Lock it. I'll lock it now. As I started to head for the bathroom, my eye landed on the pocket watch hanging from the easel. Picked it up and flicked it open for fun, but its hands were frozen in time. I put it back, then looked up at the clock on the wall. 11:15 a.m. Then I went into the bathroom to take a shower. Ah, we're here! Oh my gosh. How embarrassing that first time. No. Okay, I'll see y'all in the bit. It is different! Oh my gosh, it is! Okay, I'll see y'all in a bit. Yes! Okay. Oh, well, a bit. Okay. Ooh, what a roller coaster of emotion. Okay. Once I got ready and came downstairs, I found Aremura Tsukasa sitting behind the reception desk.
Yo.
I stopped at the reception desk and waved my hand in front of Aremura's face. He gave me a dirty look that said, "You're late." Technically, I was supposed to be covering the reception desk, but Aremura must have come in to cover for me. That happened on occasion. Oh, this happened on occasion, and that occasion happened a lot. The smoke darkened and began to arrive.
そういえばトアさん、いい加減荷物をちゃんと持って行ってくださいよ。スタッフルームに置いてあるんで。
ああ。
放置するなら処分しますから。
He was referring to my mail. Sometimes I would buy art supplies or books online, but other than that, I never got any mail. So if I received anything else, I assumed it was junk and didn't bother collecting it.
それでいいよ。
His eyes narrowed even further, but I ignored him and stepped into the staff room. The reception desk and staff room were divided by a single curtain. I glanced at the table, my eye landed on a brown cardboard box sitting amidst stacks of junk mail. But I wasn't interested, so I pushed past the curtain to the reception desk interior. Aremura gave me a dirty look and stepped out the way I'd come in. Fighting back a yawn, I turned my attention to the monitor hooked up to the work computer. Okay. As I robotically carried out my work, the morning ended uneventfully. During break time, I went into the staff room and sat down at the table. As I reached out to grab my pack of cigarettes, I caught sight of my junk mail again. More specifically, the small cardboard box sitting beside the stacks of envelopes and postcards. Something flashed through my mind. I'd ordered some art supplies a while ago, but I was told the items were on back order, so the shipping was delayed. They finally arrived. We took a look at the shipping label. Sure enough, it was addressed to me. I picked it up, pulled off the packing tape, and opened it. Inside, I found all kinds of random things. A grimy bunny toy, 4 photographs, and a sheet of paper. I knew it was the bunny. That hard foreshadowing, it literally was like 2 seconds of like, I think Taku and Rei saying, "Oh, he keeps a little bunny toy in his room." At the very beginning of the game. I remembered, I didn't forget. 3 of the photos were headshots of different men, none of whom I recognized. Each had a name scrawled on the back. Oh? Is that Fujieda? Sorry. The more I dug into the box, the more my head started to throb. Hold on, it says... Asakura Ikuina Kirihara? Me? No! No! Wait, no! Back incision, chest incision, clavicle puncture? No! What? No! No! Oh my god, no, oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. Okay, I didn't figure anything out. But the fact that Fujieda is linked to these other 2 fools is the problem here. I'm just joking, just joking. Okay. Apparently, I was still feeling under the weather. I looked down at the stuff I'd pulled out onto the table. The dirty bunny looked to be pretty old, like someone's cherished childhood treasure. I picked it up and turned it around. Is the amnesia fog going away? Just then there was a sharp ringing in my ears, drowning out all other sound. No! My vision began to spin. I lost my balance and toppled out of the chair. My breathing grew heavier and my whole body broke out in a cold sweat. Unable to endure the nausea, I used the table to push myself to my feet, then hurried to the sink. Oh, Tawa! I puked stomach acid into the sink, then rinsed it down the drain. Shoulders heaving, I leaned under the faucet and gargled repeatedly. Then I turned off the water and gripped the counter with both hands as I endured a wave of intense vertigo. Once I recovered, I let out a deep sigh and went back to the table. I still felt terrible, but I wanted to look through the rest of the stuff in the box. I seemed to recognize this bunny toy from somewhere. Is it the one my dead sister used to have? A fuzzy outline of my sister rose up in the back of my mind, then quickly vanished. Next, I picked up a photograph of what looked like a painting. The lighting was poor, so I couldn't see the details of the painting very well, and yet for some reason it gave me pause. Maybe it was a famous painting I'd seen around somewhere. Ah, okay, is this... Wow, This game really is a detective game though. like, every little thing is very important. I love stories like that, where like you think things aren't that important and then later on they piece together. It's my favorite thing. It's like it's so satisfying even if I don't figure it out till the end, or even if like I figure it out early. Like it's just so satisfying to see the writer or the people kind of piece things together. It's very, very fascinating. Okay. Alright. Because see, this is that dark canvas that the painting in the main menu looked like at first, with the slow damage logo on top of it, and like the more we get along in the game, the more color is revealed. So, oh, so cool. Okay. Next, I looked at the 3 headshots. I'd never seen any of these men before. Why would someone send these to me? Okay, so this is if it's this is before he even meets Ikuina. And then there's Kirihara. So Asakura is not related. Well, Asakura is related to Taku, so I guess that would explain a little more. Okay. I've never seen any of these men before. Why would someone send these to me? Ah. Lastly, I turned my attention to the sheet of paper. One edge was rough, suggesting it was ripped from a book. There was a handwritten record entry with a list of things like lacerations on back and other descriptions of wounds on body parts. There are also 4 names listed: Ikuina, Asakura, Kirihara, and me. Asakura, Ikuina, Kirihara. Oh no, wait a second. It's Asakura, not Fujita. Sorry, I'm a liar. Me. Who's me? Is that an implication of Fujita? I'm trying to be smart, but right now I'm just like, I should just click. I should just keep clicking. Asakura, Ikuina, Kirihara. Okay. Evidently me was whoever wrote these notes in the first place. Color of my... Let's see, diary. I don't know why I was like, Fujita! Sorry, I can't. I looked back at the headshots. Ikuina, Takashi, Asakura, Kazuki, Kirihara, Megumu. On a whim, I flipped them over and found a name written on each. The same names written on the paper. Having looked through the entire box, I frowned in confusion. The toy and the photos weren't that interesting to me, but the written descriptions of injuries certainly were, because they all seemed to match the scars on my own body. And in that case, who sent it? Why would they send it to me? Whose handwriting was this? Just then I heard the curtain slide open and Aramura peeked
今
in.
物音がしましたけどどうしました
That took you a long time, homie.
なんでもない。
Nothing. Reflexively, I whirled around to face him, hiding the box behind my back. He looked at me suspiciously.
朝から具合が悪いんでしたっけレイさんが来たら言っておくので休んでてもいいですよ今そんなに忙しくないですし
Aramura he's very pinched, but he's just like, when he knows, he knows. He's become a true homie. He's become a true homie as the story has gone on.
それじゃお言葉に甘えて。
He still seemed suspicious, but nevertheless, he disappeared behind the curtain once more. After he was gone, I started feeling dizzy again, so I sat limply in the chair. Then I packed everything back into the box and let out a breath. Harimura had the right idea when he suggested I go back to my place. Apparently this box was connected to my past somehow. Memories I could scarcely recall. Fragmented images flickered in my mind. Perhaps it wasn't that I couldn't remember. Perhaps I just didn't want to. But what was I so afraid of? Suddenly my heart began to pound, and I sucked in a shaky breath. Ooh. After that, I went back to my room and got some rest, then returned to work. Still wasn't feeling great, but I endured it till closing time. As I sat slumped on a bench in the empty waiting room, Ray arrived carrying a mug in each hand.
体調が悪いのにお疲れ様。はい。
Thank you, Wei. He offered me one of the mugs, and I took it. Steam rose from the freshly brewed coffee. Sorry, brewed coffee.
今はどうまだ具合悪い
まあな。
Hi. I sipped my coffee and nodded.
とは体調はどうだ
As soon as Taku entered the waiting room, he walked straight over to me, looking worried.
朝も体調が悪そうだったな今見るか
I mean, probably. He probably should, but he's not going to. I shook my head and took another sip of coffee.
だってスタッフルームで倒れたんでしょ有村くんから聞いたわよ
Oh, Arimura. He was so nice. He's like, I heard a noise. What happened? He's like, oh, nothing.
青白い顔してるのはいつものことだけど倒れるなんてめったにないじゃない
ちょっとふらついただけだ。
That's what you say. To cut him off, I handed him my half-empty mug, and he took it on reflex. Then I rose to my feet.
ちょっととは
どこへ行くんだ
気分転換。
At this, their expressions darkened.
この間のユーフォリアの影響なの
What was the last one? But was it the vampire guy, or was there another one?
あの後のとはなんだか普通じゃなかったものすっごくフラフラしてて
Oh, they're talking without Toa for
目の焦点も合ってない感じでした。
once. In Weston. Toa's usually present. He is usually present in all these situations, you know. But right now he's not. Sorry. I'm just, maybe it's the tiredness that's making me like, I'm like, my brain, it's big, and I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I don't know nothing.
これまでのユーフォリアとは何かが違うって思って。
本人がいるのに堂々とそんなこと話すね。
That's funny. I smirked at them, then headed for the exit.
とは
Ray called after me, but I ignored him and headed outside. The cool night air engulfed my body, soothing my discomfort. Hoping to clear the fog from my mind, I took a deep breath. Slow damage. Slow damage indeed. Woo! The next morning, I wasn't scheduled to work, so I slept in just before noon. once again, I felt less than great. Slowly, I pushed myself up from the sofa. Then I reached out to the coffee table to have a smoke. My fingertips brushed something I didn't recognize. It was the cardboard box from yesterday. Instantly, my fuzzy mind snapped awake. I pulled the box close and peered inside. The bunny toy, a torn sheet of paper, the photo of a painting, the 3 headshots. When they entered my field of vision, everything began to sway. My ears were ringing loudly. My chest felt tight. I pushed the box back and covered my eye with one hand. I let out a shaky breath and gritted my teeth, willing my racing heartbeat to get back under control. I lay back down on the sofa. When I looked up at the ceiling, however, I suddenly became conscious of the silence. I reached out, grabbed the remote, switched on the TV, and the familiar drone filled the emptiness, and I let out a small sigh of relief. As I started to feel better, I slowly began to process what was being said in the background. Slowly. According to the newscaster, at least. Technically, the guy was my father, but the news of his passing didn't affect me at all. I can't even remember what he looked like. He was essentially a stranger to me. Slowly, I sat up and grabbed the cigarettes off the coffee table. Excuse me. Then I lit one up, and as I squinted through the rising smoke, I reached for the box once more. Unlike last time, I managed to look at the contents without issue. I picked up the poorly lit photo of the painting and examined it carefully. But try as I might, I couldn't remember seeing it anywhere. Did someone else recognize it? The first person I could think of with a wide breadth of knowledge in the fine arts was the manager at Roost. I put the photo back in the box and kicked it over to the corner of the room. I decided I'd head to Roost once it opened. Late that night, I had a bizarre experience on the way to Roost. Everyone I passed on the street exuded warped, venomous-looking smoke. Did I just happen to encounter a lot of similarly minded people by chance? Was I losing my touch? The farther I walked, the worse I started to feel. Eventually I stopped, leaning my hand against a building. My head felt heavy and my chest felt tight. Closing my eye, I grasped for breath. Quietly, I cursed my malfunctioning body. Maybe I'd feel better if someone came and punched my lights out. Just then I heard a series of footsteps approaching.
Oh, miro.
Oh gosh, it's the besties.
あれトワだ。トワさんだ。
Igarashi! I looked up and spotted Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji walking toward me. Behind them I could see Igarashi tagging along too. They gathered around me in a loose circle.
トワさん、どうしたんすか？具合悪いんすか？みたいですね。顔が真っ青。
トワ、平気？
If he is white, y'all need to help.
飲みすぎただけだ。
I don't know about that. I made up an excuse and leaned back against the wall. The pressure in my chest was still there. I played it off casually.
どこか行くのか。ああ、デスマッチエリアにな。五十嵐は事務所へ戻る途中だ。
榊さんが次の組長に決まりそうなんで、遠野さんが荒れてるんですよ。で、示し合わせたみたいにデスマッチエリアも荒れちゃってて。
As it does.
何かあったのか。
無差別暴行が起きてるらしくて、犯人が見つかってないから俺たちも行く羽目になったよ。アニメ見る時間が削られる。
So that would be Madarame.
アニメなんざいいんだよバカ。とはお前も行くか？
Toa's not gonna pass out, dude. I don't.
いえ
Then I noticed Igarashi had gone quiet. When I looked over, I realized he looked pretty sad.
どうした組長って
Ah, yeah, who cares? Who cares about that bum?
ああ、親父なんだな、本当の。
だから父さん落ち込んでるのかなって思ったんすけどどうなんすか別に
Who cares about that deadbeat? He's just a deadbeat. For real, for real.
落ち込んでるようには見えないですね。
そっすか
むしろお前の方が落ちてるね。
If anything, you look depressed.
そうかもしれないっす
He slumped his shoulders.
俺もちらっとは考えたけどな。トワの具合が悪そうなのは親父が死んだせいなのかって。
冗談だろ
もしそうだったら慰めてやろうと思ったんだけどな。
Calm down. Calm down. With a suggestive smile, Kotaro slung an arm around my shoulders.
慰めてくれよ
Okay. I was frustrated with my body for being out of sorts, so the words came out sounding like a challenge.
本気か？
あ
トワと遊ぶのずるい。
Maya grinned like he wasn't at all jealous.
お前も来るか？
いや、アニメ見るから。
Have mercy.
言っとけ、オタク野郎。
Kotaro waved him away like he was shooing a stray dog.
それじゃあまゆさんと僕でデスマッチエリアですね。五十嵐君も途中まで一緒に行きましょう。
Mercy.
あうっす
ああ、後から追いかけるわ。
Have mercy on me. With one arm still around my shoulders, he used his free hand to wave goodbye. Originally, I was heading to Roost, but decided to change my plans at the last minute. I was desperate to stop feeling like terrible, like utter booty. Besides, I could always go to Roost some other night. With that thought, I walked off with Kotaro. Slow damage. Oh, it's white. Well, I guess we haven't reached the... Or is Fujieta's smoke white? The next day, my whole body felt like lead right from the minute I woke up. Last night, I'd asked Kotaro to... Yeah. He wasn't a gentle lover to begin with, but last night, I wanted him to hurt me as much as possible. That was what I was in the mood for. Trapped in a body that could scarcely function, I wasted time on the sofa for a while, then headed out to Roost. I didn't end up going last night after my run-in with the boys, but tonight I was planning to take that old photo to show the manager. The photo of the painting sent to me in the cardboard box. Excuse me. When I arrived, I opened the door and walked in. Then I crossed the dim bar to the counter and sat down, at which point Ray walked over.
あらトワいらっしゃい
Irashai! Surprised me.
お任せで
店長お任せだって
Whiskey.
はーい
The manager nodded as he wiped a glass. Then he looked at me like he had something he wanted to say. Questions?
組長のことをお悔やみ申し上げます
Oh. Who cares about that bum? At this, Ray's expression shifted awkwardly.
お父さんだものね
Yeah, who cares about that bum?
他人だ
でも
He started to protest but gave up and fell silent.
空いてるお皿とかグラス片付けてくるわね。
And with that, he walked off to the table area. Meanwhile, the manager quietly prepped my drink. Amid the awkward tension, I pulled my cigarette lighter and cell phone out of my coat pocket and set them on the counter. But before I could light one up, I overheard some customers chatting at a nearby table.
見た？ルーストのブログに載ってる写真。
見た。偽物なんだろうけど、よくできてるよな。かなり黒いよ。
By the blog, they were referring to Roost's company blog, The Fourth Face, run by the manager for fun and free advertising. He wrote spotlight articles about any artwork that caught his eye, amateur or pro. To that end, he invited artists to submit their work to him. On my phone, I navigated to The Fourth Face, then tapped the latest post. A dark red image filled the screen. It looked like an incision in human skin that someone had punched and bruised. Vivid to say the least. The artist's handle was phrase, which I didn't recognize offhand. First time submission, apparently.
店長。
お待たせ。何？
Oh, he set my drink down in front of me. Showed him my phone screen.
この画像。
ああ、それ面白いでしょ。
初投稿。
トワ君も気になる？
まあ、そうだな。
やっぱり気になるよね。僕もそう思ってね。他の作品も見たかったんだけど、連絡がつかなくて。投稿してきた時のメールアドレスがステアドだったみたいなんだよね。だから、また投稿してくれるのを待つしかなくて。残念。
He let out a disappointed sigh. So, my little hamster wheel is a-running. So this is before Toa meets all of them because, based on how these routes seem to go, it's like, regardless, Taku is always gonna have to be involved in making that drug. Rei's route doesn't seem to happen outside of his own route because it's never really mentioned again. But the thing with Taku's thing is happening. Well, in Rei's route, the only thing that's happening from Rei's route, canonically, in every route is the assault party guys, and then Madarame's route doesn't occur in the other two because obviously, but yeah, so those three kind of like happen. So Madarame has already been mentioned. So in this route, all of it is happening. So Ikuina is happening, Asakura and Kirimizu are bestie, and Madarame is in the deathmatch area. So he's planning to get rid of the Takasato Gumi. Taku is definitely doing the drug, and Rei, the assault party thing from Rei's route is also happening, I'm sure. So all three of the route, like Ikuina, Kirimizu, Bestie, and Asakura, the routes are gonna happen regardless. Instead of one or the other happening. Interesting. Okay. This might be a little longer than I realized. Unless they just skip it and it's just fine. Just then I remembered my objective in coming here. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out the old photo, and handed it to him.
この絵知ってるか？
He took the photo and scrutinized it carefully.
これ、トワ君が描いた絵じゃないの？
No.
違う。
そうなんだ。なんだか雰囲気が似てるね。でも僕は知らないな、この絵。ごめんね。
You're He returned the photo to me. I looked back at it, scanning for the aesthetic similarity he mentioned. I couldn't really see it personally, but maybe it looked that way to other people. That said, if the manager didn't recognize it, then it wasn't a famous painting. Darn. Darn. I put the photo back into my coat pocket, picked up my glass, and took a sip. Then I put a cigarette between my lips and lit up. As I exhaled the smoke, I looked back at the blog and gazed at that image. I didn't drink that much, and yet, for some reason, I still felt ill. My poor health was probably a contributing factor. So there I was, stumbling down a dark alley on my way home from Roost. Suddenly my vision went dim, and the next thing I knew I was lying on the ground. Was Equalina happening? But I didn't notice the pain so much as the intense drowsiness that swept over me all at once. I'm so sleepy. Then the headache and nausea kicked in, so I lay there on my back on the dirty asphalt and closed my eye. Something nearby reeked of mold and rotting garbage, but the drowsiness quickly superseded it. Unable to fight its pull, my consciousness quickly drifted off. Slow damage. The scarlet splash added drops of color to the wall. I could feel a burning heat and a piercing pain. Blood pooled on the carpet, glimmering eerily beneath the lights. Little red drops beaded on the surface of a long red incision. They swelled up almost as if they had a mind of their own. Then a long, thin, pale blade sliced through the air, and the instant it touched my skin. This is Equalina's house. No. I wrenched my eye open and forced myself awake. Blinking rapidly, I waited for reality to kick in. What a terrible dream. Granted, yeah, cutting my skin was almost a hobby for me, but in that dream, I was terrified of the blade. It felt less like a dream and more like a memory of past events. This was now my second nightmare in a row. With a sigh, I looked around. Where am I? I was lying on a bed in a room I didn't recognize. I started to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through my right arm. I looked over to find a clean white bandage beneath my rolled up sleeve. Who did this to me? Because it sure wasn't me. Last night I was on my way home from Roost when I passed out on the ground. I didn't remember anything in between then and now. Did I get hurt while I was unconscious? And then someone came along and brought me here for first aid? It struck me as patently absurd. I could remember dreaming about someone slicing my body. Or maybe it wasn't a dream after all? I grabbed the bandage and forcibly ripped it off. I could see a fresh cut just below my elbow. I didn't remember getting hurt while I was conscious, so it must have happened while I was asleep. Did that explain the dream I had? The pain and fear I felt during the dream was far greater than this tiny little scratch. Feeling strangely disappointed, I pressed a finger to the cut and dug my nail in. Ah! Sharp pain shot through me and it made me smile. Now that was the level of intensity I was looking for. Something more like that. Oh no, please. Okay. Let me see. All right, let's see where this. Oh my gosh, Tho is so scary. I swear, Tho scares me so much. As my heart began to race, I looked around the room. My eye landed on a big pair of scissors lying on the side table. I reached out and grabbed them. Then I gripped them like a knife, pressed them hard against the inside of my right arm, and dragged. Ah! Toa! It left an ugly scratch on the surface of my skin. I brought my arm to my mouth and licked the blood. The pain and the taste of metal gave me a thrill, so I grabbed the scissors and did it again. I stabbed and slashed at myself over and over. Before I knew it, it became my sole focus. Each of the wounds drew blood that spilled over, staining the white sheets in a brilliant scarlet. Breathing heavily, I stabbed the scissors deeper into the wounds. Over and over and over. I'm getting scared up in the club. Laughing, I pressed on. It hurt so good. I'm not reading that. My throbbed painfully. I tossed the blood-stained scissors and slowly rose from the bed. Then I found my coat sitting folded on an armchair nearby. I readjusted my clothes and shrugged on my coat and headed for the exit. My head hurt way worse than my arm. The sun! As I stepped out from the unfamiliar apartment, the sun streamed into the hallway, blinding me. I pulled out my cell phone to check the time. 10 a.m. Then I looked back at the apartment door. 1403. No nameplate, so I didn't know who lived there. I walked down the hallway to the elevator, or down to the first floor, and exited the building to get my bearings. I couldn't tell what neighborhood I was in. Why on earth did someone bring me here? I started to open the GPS app on my phone, but then I saw all the missed calls and messages from Taku in my notice. For now, I decided to make my way back to the clinic. I walked along the shadows. Spicy. Before I arrived, I got in touch with Taku, then let myself in through the side entrance. Once he finished his current appointment, he called me in for some emergency first aid.
Oi, oi. ひどいなこりゃ。
He took one look at my arm and scowled.
自分でやったのか。
まあ。
しょうがないな。ただ。
Junko was standing nearby, handing Taku his tools with a concerned look on their face.
こいつは完治するまで結構かかるぞ。なんでこんなことしたんだ。
なんとなく。
I thought about trying to explain, but it was too much effort, so I made something up. Taku shook his head in defeat.
聞いた俺がバカだったよ。
After he administered first aid, he wrapped a bandage around my arm.
よし。痛み止めと可能止めを出すから飲めよ。それと明日も見るからな。
頭痛薬と吐き気止めも欲しい。
何？
He gave me a dubious
具
look.
合が悪いのか？
まあ。
睡眠薬が合わないとか言ってたな。そのせいか？
それもあるかもしれない。
薬を変えてみるか。 それでも収まらなければまた言ってくれ。
分かった。
一昨日も総称の患者が来たんだが、好き好んで怪我をするのはお前くらいのもんだ。
It's true. He straightened up and let out a
その
sigh.
患者はナイフで
通り魔にあったらしいんだが、酔って記憶がなかったみたいでな。お前も一言じゃない話だぞ。
So in this route, Toa doesn't tell Taku that someone else did it to him. He did it to himself. Like it happened and then he added another score. Another injury, I should say. I reached out to grab my coat, but just then my phone started to buzz loudly. Oh, not you. I don't want to talk to you. I hate you.
榊だ。
Taku frowned. But before I could answer the call, it stopped buzzing. Apparently, he stopped calling. With a sigh, I put my phone back in my coat pocket. If it was actually important, he'd contact me again some other time.
組長のことかもな。
Yeah, probably. Taku murmured
葬式
quietly.
は出るのか。
No! I hate that guy. Forget that deadbeat.
そうか。
He didn't sound surprised by this. Instead, he nodded like it was what he expected me to say.
あさっては炊き出しのボランティアイベントがあるんだが、覚えてるか？
そういや、そんなこと言ってたな。
As I spoke, I rose to my feet. I had mentioned it in passing a while back, but I hadn't really paid attention.
お前も来いよと言いたいところだが、その腕じゃ厳しいか。
考えとく。
I'll think about
無
it.
理しなくていいぞ。
You have to go. Asakura's there. I nodded and left the exam room.
すみません。
Is that Ikuina? I walked in to find a man standing at the reception desk holding a basket of flowers. No one was seated there. Maybe the receptionist on duty had to run to the bathroom. The man with the flowers was wearing an apron. I had to guess he was probably a flower shop employee.
Oh.
The instant he laid eyes on me, his jaw dropped. And his cheeks flushed like he was embarrassed for some reason. I didn't recognize him at all.
花の配達で来たんですが。
すみません。こちらへお願いします。
Just then, Aremura came racing down the hall. The delivery guy kept glancing at me furtively, but I figured I'd let Aremura handle it, so I walked off. Once the sun set and the sky went dark, I decided to go to roost. No amount of sitting around in my room was making me feel any better. The headache and nausea had faded, possibly thanks to Taku's meds. The pain in my arm wasn't too bad either. Problem was, spending any amount of time in my room seemed to fill my skull with fog. Normally I'd cheer myself up with some booze. The fridge was empty. I put a cigarette between my lips, pulled in my coat, and left. As I was heading downstairs, I could feel my phone buzzing in my pocket, but I ignored it. I didn't feel like talking to anyone, then I left the clinic and headed straight to Roost. As I walked along smoking my cigarette, I heard footsteps approach from behind me.
すみません。
Ikuina? I stopped short. The owner of the voice quickly walked around in front of me. With his face now illuminated by the street lamps, I could see that I vaguely recognized him. Yeah, he was the flower delivery guy from earlier. He stared at the ground for a moment, then summoned his courage and looked up. The instant our eyes met, his face flushed.
昼間に村瀬クリニックへ花を届けに行ったんですけど、俺のこと覚えてますか？
Okay. They're just gonna come at him, huh? I pinched my cigarette between my fingers. He looked back at me in alarm. I waited for him to start talking, but no words
何
came.
か用か
Yeah, what'd you need? What'd you need, flower shop guy whose name I totally don't know already? I put my cigarette between my lips and started to walk away.
待って
I looked back to find him gazing at me desperately. He pursed his lips together and finally resigned himself to speak.
その俺あなたに謝りたいことがあって、あなたを部屋に連れ込んだのは俺なんです。すみません。
Suspicious. Apartment. So this was the guy behind it.
あなたが道端で寝ているところへ偶然通りかかって、こんなに寒いのに放っておいたら危ないんじゃないかと思って、それで連れて帰ったんです。
Liar!
よく見たら怪我をしていたので手当てもしました。勝手なことをしてすみません。でも
He fixed me with a probing look.
その後部屋に戻ったらあなたがいなくて、ベッドに血がたくさん。
I know. You saw the other
すご
thing.
く驚いて何があったのか気になって、そしたら村瀬クリニックさんであなたを見て、あなたを探そうと思って聞いて回ったんです。特徴を話して。そしたら何か教えてくれる人がいて、トワさん有名なんですね。そのいろいろと。
You know, if they were forward like this to begin with, the routes would go so much faster. But then I wouldn't be a very good detective. I'm just kidding.
誰とでも寝るって
Ooh! Thor said it himself. Oh. He fell silent, so I pressed on.
ずっと俺を見張ってたのか
He looked up at me in surprise. I mean, he didn't honestly expect me to believe that about passing by, did he? His gaze darted around hesitantly for a moment, then he nodded
も
quietly.
しかしたらあなたは俺の同類なんじゃないかと思って話したかったんです。
同類
あのベッドの血は自分で傷つけたものですよね。俺傷にとても興味があるんです。
He pulled out his cell phone and showed me his screen. It was that same image again, the one from Roost's blog, made by the artist called Phrase. For a moment I thought maybe it was just a look-alike, but no, they were identical.
フレーズか
At this, his eyes widened in surprise.
どうして？
ルーストのブログで見た。印象的だったから覚えてる。
He stared back at me in amazement.
そんな風に言ってもらえるなんて嬉しいです。よくルーストには行かれてるんですか？
Every day. He goes every day.
俺実はまだ行ったことがないんですけど、ブログを見たり周りの人の話を聞いたりしてすごく行ってみたいって思ったんです。ブログに載ってたユーフォリアって人の作品がすごく好きで、店内に飾ってあるみたいだから見に行きたくて。
そりゃどうも
He blinked back at me, stunned.
もしかして。
Yeah, that's me, fool.
ユーフォリアは俺だけど。
そうだったんですか？本当に？
本当に？
ああ。
うわぁ、こういう奇跡みたいな偶然って本当にあるんですね。
Smiling, he closed his eyes.
ユーフォリアさんの描いた絵を見てると不思議な気持ちになるんです。絶望を感じるのに振り切った情熱のようなものが見え隠れしていて、なんだかすごく羨ましくなる。いいなって思うんです。何かテーマを決めてたりはするんですか？
願望だ。心の奥底に秘めた誰にも言えない願望が叶った瞬間を描いてる。
願望？それって想像で描いてるんですか？それともモデルがいたりとか？
モデルはいるけど毎回違う。
そうなんですね。
He nodded and looked down at his feet.
あの、
He looked up at me imploringly.
いきなりでおこがましいってことは100も承知なんですが、俺を書いてもらえませんか？俺の願望を。俺の願望は
He sucked in his shaky breath.
人の中身が見たくてたまらないんです。
Ooh. As it turned out, the image Phrase had submitted to Roof's blog was a flower made to look like a wound. Apparently, he made this art whenever he needed to vent his desire to see people's innards. Since I was drawn to the image he submitted, and I wanted a distraction anyway, I decided to attempt a euphoric episode with him. He brought me back to the same apartment I'd woken up in. Naturally, it was exactly the same as I remembered it. There were potted plants everywhere and lots of humidity in the air. The only change was that he had replaced the bloody bed sheets with fresh, clean ones.
一つ聞いてもいいですか？
He is a lot. Okay, so this changes things because Ikuina is a lot less desperate now, and I think Ikuina, Asakura, and Kirimizu, I'm so mean to him. Because they won't be as desperate, it'll be very different. So, let's see what we got here. He looked at me nervously beneath dim lights.
血まみれのベッドの上に植木用のハサミが落ちてたんですけど、ハサミを使って自分を傷つけたんですか？
Absolutely did.
ああ、
どうして？
なんとなく。
Not like he needed to know, it was an impulse I felt after dreaming of a traumatic incident from my childhood. Not like he needed to know that, you know. I'm traumatized.
あなたが寝ている間に、実はあなたの腕を少しだけ切ったんです。目を覚まさないように水に溶かした睡眠薬を飲ませて、その後傷の手当てをしました。でも部屋に戻ってみたらベッドが血だらけで、あなたがいなくなっていて、正直焦りました。
Oh, so he doesn't. Okay, because in Ikuina's original route, he makes people's like he'll find drunk people and then make cuts on their arms in the street, and then he'll try to like haphazardly like fix it. But Toa was different because he took Toa to his house, and then would continue to stalk him. But it seems like this. So he brought Toa to his house, and then he cut Toa's arm at his house and fixed him at his house instead of doing it on the street.
そんな大怪我はさせてないし、何が起こったのかわからなくて。ハサミで切った傷、見せてもらってもいいですか？
Remember how it was like, oh, I found peace in Ikuina and then he perished last row? And I was like, oh, well. He was trying his best to keep his voice level, but I could hear a hint of excitement. Ow. I pulled off my coat and rolled up my shirt sleeve, then I removed the bandage Taku had applied and offered my grisly arm to him. Instantly his eyes widened, and he gazed at my wounds rapturously. It was now impossible to tell where he made his original incision.
これを自分で？
I nodded and he let out a sensual breath.
やっぱり思った通りだ。あなたの腕を切らせてもらった時、体も見て、そしたらたくさんの傷跡があって、すごく
Don't voice it. I forget. I was like, I forgot how much of a freak you were.
特に胸の真ん中にある大きな傷、まるで体を開いた跡みたい
As
で
if someone once dissected
たまら
you.
なかった。
He spoke reverently, like he was reciting an ardent love poem.
触りたいか？
He gasped, his Adam's apple quivering. I pulled off my coat and shirt and ran a finger over the scar that cleaved my chest in two. Then I dug my nail into the raised skin and slowly scratched. He watched me hungrily, unblinking. He wasn't even touching me, yet I could feel his fervent heat in the air. I chuckled. Ooh. Ah! I jerked my chin in the direction of the bedside table where a knife lay idly. Blushing, he let out a quavering breath. I took a step toward him, challenging him. Slowly, he took the knife from the table. But before he used it, he reached out and touched my scar with his bare hand. His rough, dry fingers felt scratchy against the protruding skin. The sensation was enough to provoke a tiny thrill in me. He rubbed my scar again and again, like he couldn't get enough. Then at last, he raised the knife. The tip glinted faintly in the dim light as he pointed it at my chest. And I felt a tiny prick of pain as he pierced my skin. In that instant, I was overcome with the strangest feeling. I recognized this. I'd experienced the same thing. It was truly a bizarre case of deja vu. Something was breaking loose in the back of my mind and starting to rise to the surface, unbidden. Oh boy, okay. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. I'm ready for the magic to be told to me. He looked up at me quizzically as he pressed the knife lightly against my chest. I goaded him on, desperate not to let this fleeting feeling slip away. Perplexed, he pressed the knife deeper into my scar. Pain shot through me, and the red fluid spilled out from between the knife and my skin. Every time, he let out a feverish breath like he couldn't possibly hold it in. As I gazed at his expression while my cut throbbed painfully, that same niggling feeling returned. I knew this guy from somewhere. That's right. More accurately, I'd seen him before. Of the 3 headshots that were mailed to me in that cardboard box, none of them looked a lot like this guy. If his name matched the one scribbled on the back of the photo. Ikuina. Ikuina. Sure enough, that was the same name. Instantly, the horny haze cleared from my mind. Same name, same face. What was going on here? Surely it wasn't Ikuina who sent me that cardboard box. Was he connected to me somehow? To my past? I asked him if I performed a euphoric episode with him, maybe I could get those memories back. All of them. Is this alternate universe's top of beat? Okay, after Ikuina's euphoric episode, the 2 of us lay on the bed, stained anew with my blood. We were still alive, but only just. At some point, we got carried away and stopped thinking about the consequences. Or at least he did. I drove him to that point on purpose. Manipulated him to prioritize my own pleasure. And in the end, he did exactly what I wanted him to do. First time in my life that I had lost control of myself so completely. I couldn't stop. However, ultimately, no amount of interrogating Ikuina helped me remember anything. As I zoned out on the bed, I heard loud footsteps running down the hall outside. Earlier, I had used the last of my strength to grab my phone and call Taku. When the front door flew open and the footsteps came barreling into the apartment toward us. Slowly, I turned my heavy eye toward the door. There, Taku stood staring at me in shock.
毎回こうだと分かっちゃいるが、本当にどうしようもないな。
Muttering to himself, he walked over to the bed. I smiled faintly and closed my eye as the strength drained from my body. Slow damage. So is Toa just like fully psychic? Like, sorry, I'm just making a joke. Okay. Well, it must mean Fujieja is like really special too, so there's that same dream again. The dream where someone cuts me. Probably a memory from my childhood. Assuming it wasn't my own personal fantasy. The cut ran deep, with a razor-sharp knife that glinted in the light, right in the center of my chest, like someone was trying to cut my heart out. Slowly but firmly, the tip sank into my skin, and the hand that held the knife was that of a child's. My viewpoint switched, then I felt a sharp prick of pain in my back. I was lying on my stomach, so I couldn't see what was happening. All I knew was that my back hurt. Intense pain made my throat spasm, and then I screamed. Oh, it's not. So it's not A. Okay, wait, it's not AU then. It must mean that the three of those kids gave Toa those scars. Otherwise, it's AU magic. The moment I awoke, a headache set in and I grimaced. Lately, I always seem to feel terrible the morning after a nightmare. Maybe the new meds weren't no good fit for me either. I sat up on the sofa, grabbed the bottle of booze off the floor, and took a swig. Whoa, his room looks awful. 2 weeks had passed since Ikuina's euphoric episode. I received medical treatment at the clinic, and once I had recovered enough to walk, I started the painting process. I was told Ikuina was taken to a different hospital. But while I would always stay cooped up in my room while a painting was in progress, things were a little different this time. Normally, I'd paint like a man possessed, but this time I couldn't focus. I kept painting and repainting over and over. Most of my time was spent frozen like a statue in front of the canvas, just thinking. I was so unfocused. In fact, I even fiddled with my cell phone, something I almost never did during a painting sesh. I read through a bunch of notices from Rei and Sakaki, then tossed my phone onto the sofa. Naturally, I had no intention of calling them back. I was only growing more frustrated with myself for wasting time. At one point, Rei came by my place with a parcel for me. Normally, I would ignore anyone who tried to interrupt me while I was painting, but this time was different. Asakura. When I opened it, I found a small white box with a single business card inside. On it, someone had scrawled Takanokuchi Medical Office. Apparently, this person was a doctor. Takanokuchi Medical Office. It was a comparatively large-scale hospital facility right here in Shinkomi. Why would someone send me this person's business card? Sakura. I fetched the other box and pulled out 3 headshots. Ikuina, Kirihara, Asakura. Asakura Kazuki. Sure enough, it was a match. I pulled off my paint-stained coveralls, shrugged on my coat, and left the building. First time in my life that I got up and left in the middle of a painting. Is he gonna stack the euphoric episodes? Ah, that's so cool. Sorry, I just okay, because the painting in the middle of the title screen, the more we go through the game, the more color appears. And from what and so that photo I feel like a conspiracy theorist. So the photo that we got is very similar. The photo of that painting is very similar to like the painting in the title screen, which is not fully like black, but mostly dark. And like I said, the more we go along, the more colorful it becomes, and the more colorful the smoke in the room becomes too. So, so right now, Toa can't paint, and he's very frustrated about that. But if he's stacking, if in this route he begins to stack the euphoric episodes, that would make a lot of sense to the painting, because now he's adding far more than one color. But in the end, because of everything stacked, it could become black, because it becomes muddy and murky because there's so much color. Or it's us trying to lift up the darkness, as in like us being blind to the story, and then lifting up the dark colors as we begin to discover the story and unveil the color in the story of Slow Damage. Oh, this. I love this game. Okay, okay. Give me one moment and plug in my headphones. I have an epiphany, now I need to plug in my headphones. Oh, this game is so cool, so good. Ah? Okay. Okay, now who next? We gotta. Are we seeing Kiramizu? Or are we seeing Are we seeing our buddy Asakura? Oh no, we're going Asakura second because they gave us Asakura's card. So we going to see the homie. My favorite Asakura. Have mercy on me. Okay. Well, now I won't feel as stressed, I think. Using my GPS to guide me, I hurried down the sunny street in the direction of Takanokuchi. 2 black cars were idling on the side of the road by the park. Right as I passed, one of the cars' window rolled down. Don't talk to me, I'm busy! Sakaki peered out from the rear passenger seat. I stopped short.
何度も電話してるのに出ねえから心配したんだぞ。入院してたらしいじゃねえか。また趣味に夢中になりすぎたのか。
I don't care about you! I hadn't said a word to him, and yet somehow he already knew my business. Being the Takasato Gumi's new leader had its perks, apparently. But I was in an irritable mood since I was already upending my entire painting process by leaving my room before I was finished. Sakaki seemed to sense this because he gazed at me pensively for a moment, then smiled weakly.
そう怖い顔で睨むなって。今日は用事ついでに顔を見ようと思っただけだ。
I don't care about that bum!
話したいことがたく
We
さんあ
gotta
るんだ
go
よ。
see the shady children's doctor.
だが、また今度にしよう。
Oh, thank goodness. As he spoke, I peered into the car. One of his cronies was sitting in the driver's seat, but there was another man in the back with him who gave off a very different vibe. Fujeda! He was wearing glasses and a blank expression. Oh, like that of a mannequin. Probably the straight-laced, highly guarded type. The other car had more cronies inside.
どこかへ行くところだったのか。
At this, I looked back at Sakaki.
ああ。邪魔して悪かった。また連絡する。
With that, he rolled the window back up. As the 2 cars sped away in a cloud of exhaust fumes, I started walking. Up ahead, I could see a 6-story building with a fancy sign out front that read Takanokuchi Medical Office. Let's go see Asakura! Everybody! My favorite friend! Ah! Inside, the waiting room was filled with patients sitting on benches. Granted, I knew I probably wouldn't be able to meet with Asakura without good reason, so I said I was the new patient and requested him as my physician. Fortunately, he was working today, and the wait wouldn't be too terribly long, so I sat down on a bench to wait until he was available. Narrowly suppressing a nicotine craving, I let my eye unfocus as I stared into space. Smoke rising from the patients blurred together like a watercolor painting. Just then a question rose to mind. What exactly am I doing here? Pure impulse that brought me here. What would I even say to this Asakura guy? No guarantee it would go as well as it did with Ikuina.
村瀬さん、村瀬とわさん、一番の診察室へどうぞ。
You got it, bestie. Before I could finish mulling it over, they called my name. I always borrowed Taku's surname whenever I needed one. I rose from the bench and walked to the room they specified. When I entered, the doctor stopped typing on his computer and glanced in my direction. But this was Asakura. He waited for me to be seated, then turned in my direction.
こんにちは。今日はどうされましたか?
While he spoke politely, there was something hostile about his tone. Maybe he was judging me based on my looks. I silently scrutinized his face. He frowned back at me dubiously. Sure enough, it was the same guy from the headshot, though he looked younger in the photo.
風邪をひいたみたいで少し熱っぽいんですけど。
It was a lie, of course. He must have seen right through it because his skepticism only deepened.
そうですか。それじゃ口を。
俺のことは知ってるか？
I cut in with a question and he scowled at me.
失礼ですが、初対面かと。少なくとも私はあなたとは会ったことがない。
それじゃこれは。
I pulled a folded piece of paper out of my pocket, opened it up, and thrust it at him. It was the torn paper from the cardboard box. At first he glared at me, but when he looked at the paper, he gasped. His complexion went pale, and his smoke changed color and began to warp unnaturally.
これはどうして？
Am I getting to? Give me information. Give me information. Give me information. me. I don't care. Give me information. You know something about this. His lips trembled as he looked at me, his eyes as wide as saucers. He seemed to be struggling to find his words, but I wasn't about to wait. Next, I pulled out his headshot.
何か知ってることがあるなら話せ。
Yeah, tell me! Tell me!
君はどうしてそんなものまで。
The moment he saw the photo, all the blood drained from his face and panic rose up in his eyes.
診察が必要ないのであれば帰ってくれないか。ここは病院だ。
Give me information. He stammered quietly without meeting my gaze.
俺には必要だ。
帰ってくれ。
You! I will knock you
人に
out.
は言えない秘密がある。あんたのことだよ。
何を急に。
Montoya.
そういうやつがこの病院にいるって言いふらすこともできる。
やめろ。
なら話せ。
Yeah, talk. Give me the tape. He glared at me in a flustered rage.
先生、どうされました？
Just then the curtain slid open and a nurse peeked in. Asakura's face stiffened as he shook his head.
なんでもない。気にしないでくれ。
It's fine. It's fine. Come on, Asakura. Come on. Come on. I can't depend on Kidamizu. He's a mess. Please, I need. Come on. Puzzled, the nurse disappeared behind the curtain once more. Asakura let out a heavy sigh and hung his head. He pressed his hands to his knees and slowly clenched them into fists. For a while he stared at the floor in contemplation. Then he looked at me.
その紙に書いてあるのは、かつて私が犯した大きな過ちについてだ。
Okay.
大きな過ち？
なぜ君がそれを？
いいから話せ。
And yeah, answer the question. I gazed firmly into his eyes like I was trying to see into his soul. He met my gaze, then eventually conceded.
大学生だった頃の話だ。私はゼミの教授に声をかけられた。私を最も有望な生徒と見込んで連れて行きたいところがあると。教授を心底尊敬していた私は舞い上がった。めったに生徒を評価しないと言われていた人だったんだ。バーで教授と酒を酌み交わした後、洋館へ連れて行かれた。豪華で美しい館ではあったが、召喚か何かなのだろうということは一目で分かった。酔いが回っていた私は、教授のような人でもこういう店に来るのだと深くは考えなかった。その後、教授と共にある部屋へ通された。そこには 目隠しをされた子供がうつ伏せで横たわっていた。子供を取り囲むように何人かの大人が座っていて、私もうつ伏せになっている子供の隣に座らされた。
stressed out. I was just like, oh, I won't be stressed out anymore. I need to stop. I need to not. I need to always be on my toes.
そして手にメスを握らされて。
He grimaced in pain, closed his eyes, and bit his lip. His fists were shaking in his lap.
切れと言われたんだ。目の前にいる子。私は酔っていた。だから自分が夢を見ているのか現実なのかの区別もつかなかった。それで切ったんだ。
Oh my gosh! Ah! Oh, ah! Okay, sorry. Okay, I'll keep my thoughts together once we're done here. Once we're done.
どこ？
背中を切った。その時急に天使の宗教画を思い出して、羽がとても美しかったと思った。
どんな風に？
肩甲骨に沿って。
Choking back a sob, he pursed his lips together.
その子の体には他にもたくさんの傷があった。だからきっと私だけではなく、そういうことが常に行われていたのではないかと思う。
Well, this would explain why my toe was all jacked up. Oh.
その子供はどうなった？
死んではいないはずだ。専属の医者がいると言っていた。
Taku knows?
真実はわからないが。
Taku has to know. That means Taku knows.
その君が持っている紙に書かれた他の二人もおそらく私と同罪のものなんだろう。傷の部位は目隠しをした子供が負った傷を示している。
Is Toa gonna tell him?
少なくとも
Who's gonna tell Asuka? Sorry.
私がつけた傷については合っている。
He slumped his shoulders and stared at the floor like he was completely drained.
ずっとあれは夢の出来事だったのではないか。夢であってほしいと願っていたんだが。
No wonder he's screwed up.
現実だったのか。もしそうなら本当に後悔している。
He looked at me with weary eyes.
なぜ今になって、どうして今君はそれを私に突きつけたんだ。
そんなの俺の方が聞きたい。
Muttering quietly, I rose from my chair and left the exam room. It's like, why now? I didn't realize it was you. After I paid my bill, I headed for the exit and left the building. Willing my racing heartbeat to calm down, I took a deep breath of cold air, but my skull still felt like it was on fire. The boy Asakura described, the blindfold and the cuts on his back. Fragmented images flashed through my mind. I had 2 scars on my back that ran along my shoulder blades. One of the guys, I forget when or who it was, once told me that it looked like someone had ripped out my angel wings. So if Asakura was telling the truth then, that blindfolded little boy was probably me. Apparently Ikuina had cut me at some point too. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the crumpled piece of paper, and then folded it. According to this record, Ikuina was the one who gave me the scar across my chest. Wait, So Iguina gave me this huge long scar? Dark emotion swirled in my chest as I gazed down at the paper. All that remained was Kirihara. Kirimizu! Was Kirihara just like the rest? I mulled it over as I walked, and before I knew it, I had arrived at the clinic. Back at my place, I pulled off my coat and sat down at the easel without even changing into my coveralls. Robotically, I picked up my paintbrush, dipped it in the paint, and went back to work. Meanwhile, my brain replayed a certain voice, but I intentionally ignored it, painting away like a single-minded machine. Originally, I was painting Iguina, but now a crumbling face was emerging on the canvas. It was Iguina's face, soon joined by Asakura's face. Two separate entities seemed to struggle for dominance. Ever since I'd spoken to Asakura, I could hear someone screaming in my head. Don't remember. Don't dig any deeper. I couldn't tell whose voice it was, but whoever they were, they refused to shut up. Eventually, I couldn't stand it anymore. I dropped my paintbrush and rose to my feet. In my rage, I kicked over the easel, sending the still wet canvas toppling to the floor. I ran a hand through my hair and paced around the room. Well, time to find Kirimizu. On a whim, I stopped short to shift through the items from the cardboard boxes. Then I went back to pacing. This pattern repeated several times. Every now and then the voice in my head would weaken and I would regain my composure long enough to work on my painting. It was obvious from my behavior that I was emotionally unstable. Yeah, you think? Oh gosh, something was clearly wrong with me. It was starting to make me lose control completely. Slow damage. In my desperation, I visited Takanokuchi Medical Office several more times. Each time I tried to meet with Asakura to no avail. Not that I could blame him. I didn't exactly pull any punches the first time around. Looking back, I probably could have handled that a little better. My chest felt like it was full of storm clouds. One minute I was painting, the next I found myself at the park. I had no motivation to do anything or speak to anyone. I still hear someone in my head ringing alarm bells. Don't remember. Don't dig any deeper. Staring at the ground, I walked up to a big tree and leaned against it. I stood there. I overheard some loud, cheerful voices in the distance. Oh gosh, y'all. Once again, y'all got bad timing.
Toa-san, konnichiwa.
Toa-san! Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji walked over to me excitedly. They were all carrying plastic grocery bags. Evidently, they were on their way back from a shopping trip.
なんだか久しぶりじゃねえか。2週間ぶりか?
I mean, I don't know, you tell me.
そんなに会ってないっけ?
Oh gosh, I feel so. Sorry, I'm gonna take a moment. It feels like, I know it's because I've played through the first 3 routes already, so this is just an illusion that it feels like now it's going in fast motion, only because I know what occurred in the past 3 routes. Whereas, you know, now we're going through, like, basically a reset, like the full reset route. And again, the true route, so. Final chapter, okay. Oh, man, okay. Sorry, I'm frantic. I'm just like, give me.
トワさん、元気がないように見えますけど、どうしました?
A little bit.
別に。
A little bit, but you know, you don't even know that. I didn't want them digging into my business, so I looked away.
なんだご機嫌斜めか? もうちょっと優しくしてくれよ。こっちはヒーヒー言いながら重いもん持って歩いてんだからよ。
Kotaro rustled the bags in his hands as he spoke.
大して重くないですよ。
Not that heavy.
うるせえな。
小太郎大げさ。
I mean, he is though.
買い出しか?
ああ、これから戻るところだ。
その後は
特に用事はないよ。
デスマッチエリア行かないのか？
え？
They all looked at me in disbelief.
トワからデスマッチの話が出るなんて珍しいね。どうしたんですか？何かあったんですか？
As I fell silent, the three of them exchanged a glance.
嬉しいお誘いと言いたいところだが、今エリアに近づかない方がいいぜ。
そうそう、やめとけやめとけ。
Normally, Kotaro would always try to drag me to the deathmatch area, whether I wanted to go or not. So if he didn't want to go anywhere near the place, then it had to be in pretty bad shape. Maybe the leader's death had something to do with it too.
飲みとかなら全然付き合いますよ。
Easy, but the bar though.
じゃあそれでいい。
よっしゃ、行こうぜ。
とりあえずお使いを済ませてくるよ。またここに集合。
Okay, I'll see y'all in a bit.
トワさん、少し待っててくださいね。
Have mercy. And with that, the trio headed out of the park. I wasn't especially in the mood to drink, but right now I didn't care. I just leaned against the tree and waited for them to return. Slow damage. Oh boy. Alright. 10 days later, I was still nowhere near done with Ikuina's painting. Normally, Taku stayed out of my room when I was painting, but he was excessively worried about me this time around. I mean, it's not looking hot, Toa. It's not looking hot.
とは入るぞ。
When he knocked, I didn't answer. Instead, I just lay there on the floor with my eye closed. The floor was littered with paint-splattered papers and tools, with barely any space to walk on. In my hand was the grimy bunny from the first box. Frustrated with my lack of progress on the painting, I pulled out the bunny and tried to remember more about it, but doing so only exhausted my energy. My painting wasn't finished. More accurately, I couldn't seem to reach a level of completion I was satisfied with. The more I painted, the more the composition changed, and the more I struggled to paint it anyway, the faster I burned out, until eventually I gave up in despair. The voice in my head was still there. Frustration and doubt gnawed away at my sanity. Taku must have lost patience with my lack of response because the door quietly opened.
とは
He walked in, minding his step as he crossed over the messy floor to me. I felt him crouch down, then his rough fingers touched my neck. Relieved to find me alive. Oh my gosh, Tawa! He grabbed me by the shoulder and gave me a shake.
おい、とは
I opened my eye to find Taku frowning down at me. Or more accurately, at my hand. At the old ball-jointed bunny doll. Why was he looking at it? All at once, I snapped to my senses and sat up. Startled, he froze and looked at me. His hand hovered in the direction of the bunny. Hastily, I concealed the toy behind my back.
そいつをどこで手に入れたんだ
Oh boy. He asked quietly in a tone of forced calm. Did he recognize this bunny? Or was he just curious about it for some reason?
見せてくれ
No! Then he reached out farther and on reflex I shoved him away. He fell to the floor and bumped into the cardboard box nearby. At first he grimaced, but when he caught sight of the box, his expression changed instantly. Taku, no! Ugh. Ugh. Now I'm mad. Now I understand why Madarame is mad. He shot me a look, then rose to his feet.
なんでだ
I spoke in a flat voice without averting my gaze.
なんで知ってる
Mm-hmm.
お前少し変だぞ落ち着け
No, you're acting weird. Me? You're acting weird. He spoke to me like he was reassuring a child, and yet his face looked tense. He could try to play it cool all he liked, but he couldn't fool me. I could see it in his smoke. It was now warped out of shape and flashing colors rapidly.
変なのはそっちだろ
何がだ
嘘をついてる
You're lying. For a moment he fell silent, but then he let out a breathy chuckle.
何もそいつを取ろうってわけじゃない 見せてほしいだけだ。
Oh, you don't try me. Yeah.
本当だよ。
信じられない。
Oh my gosh.
見せてくれ。と、頼む。
Don't do it.
それを。
Don't do it, Toa. He's gonna take it from you. Bunny in hand, I jumped to my feet and ran for the door. Trampling over the papers and tools scattered across the floor, I dashed out of the room. However... Ray! No, Ray! Move, Ray! Ray, move! I barely got a few steps before I crashed into Ray, who was standing just outside.
どけ。レイ、捕まえろ。
なんなの?
Perplexed, Ray grabbed my arm to stop me. I struggled to escape but couldn't wriggle out of his grab. Yeah, Ray's kind of strong. Ray goes fighting on the weekends. Ultimately, the two of them dragged me back into my apartment.
タクがなかなか戻ってこないから様子を見に来たらびっくりしたわ。何があったっていうの?
My heart is pounding. Like my, you know, I'm just like, come on. I like the closer we get to more information, I'm just like, come on. I was like, please, I want it now. I want it now. Ray pressed a hand to his mouth as his eyes darted between me and Taku.
いや、ちょっとな。と、本当に取り上げたりはしないから。それを見せてくれないか。
I don't know. I have Taku be acting sussy, man. Okay. Taku stooped down, trying to make eye contact with me as I sat on the sofa and stared at my lap. I turned away, avoiding his gaze, and threw the toy at him. He scrutinized the bunny with a hard look on his face. He turned it over and over in his hands, then just let out a sigh and handed it back to me, just as he promised.
悪かったな。
そのぬいぐるみ、何なの?
わからん。トアがぬいぐるみを持って帰ってきたのかと思って。
Oh, what a lie! Taku, no!
お前にとっては大事なものなんだろう。な。
Oh no. He knows. Taku! His smoke twisted in different angles, changing colors at the speed of light. It was always so obvious to me when anyone lied, which meant Taku knew something about this bunny. He had been my private physician ever since I was a kid, so it's the reason that he would know about my past. I gritted my teeth.
絵はまだ仕上がってないのか。お前が絵を描いてる途中でつまずくなんて珍しいが、たまにはゆっくり休むことも大事だぞ。
そうよ、トア。無理しないでね。
Oh, you poor foolish boys. But their words of concern fell on deaf ears. They looked at me anxiously, waiting for me to speak, but eventually gave up and left the room. Taku knows something. He's lying to me. And the voice in my head got louder. Don't remember. Don't dig any deeper. What was lurking in my past? I rose from the sofa and sat down at the easel. With a fresh eye, I reevaluated my work in progress. It was downright hideous, but I decided to continue. It was less that I wanted to paint and more that I wanted to use the painting as an outlet for the frustration welling up inside me. I started to fling the bunny, but stopped myself just in time. Instead, I dropped it lightly at my feet. The pocket watch hanging on the easel swayed, thumping quietly. Slow damage. Whoa. Ooh, girl. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take a break. Because I'm gonna rile up. I'm like oh boy. Like every time Toa gets like up, like he starts to feel like the rush of emotion, I start to feel it. So I'm just like you know. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna see real quick. Let's see. What is this? Oh, I didn't notice that. Ah, there! I was just like, did it not display the other one? But it is here. Interesting. Okay. Oh, okay, so this character doesn't have a name. Or if he does, they're not gonna tell me. they're not gonna tell me. What's this? Oh, this, I don't think this is anything. Okay, so there's a lot of space here. Interesting. Madarame's painting is really cool. Like literally the only painting I'm really like meh about is Asakura's. But it's like not that bad. It's just like it's kind of like a little too. It's mostly I don't like the body part, like that the hold on. Ah, that's not what I wanted. I don't like the red part. Let's see. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Anyway, what are my extras here? Do I have? Whoa. Interesting. Okay, let's go here. All right. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to wander a little bit here. Wow. Okay. I need to take a break. I want to binge it, but as I said a bit ago, I can't just binge it all in one go. In fact, I have played for far too long for this this part. But either way, man, I'm so like I feel like I'm in like an action movie. Like I feel like, you know, I'm so excited, and every little drop of the quotation marks is making me so excited. So it is kind of like I did in the beginning. I did question in the back of my head that I was just like, oh, the reopening scars that he already has. But it wasn't as obvious with Kirihara though. Kirimizu, my bestie. It just wasn't as obvious with him. But with Asakura and Kirina, it's like they both had like very specific scars that were being cut open, and I'm like, oh, that usually isn't a coincidence, but I think I forgot about it with Kirimizu. Just because I was just like, I was panicking like a fool, but oh my gosh, oh, I'm like so, my blood is on fire because I'm so excited. This route is so like, I'm just like, oh, no, writing, I'm just like, ah! So, I can only assume the last person has to be Fujieda. I can only assume that, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't think there's anyone else it could be besides him, so. But we'll see. Also, Taku needs to be telling me stuff, because Taku's like holding on to stuff and he's like lying, and I'm just like, Taku, he knows. You can't hide it anymore. So, all right, okay. Oh gosh, this is so exciting. I'm gonna make it real quick. But I'm like I said, I'm not ready for this game to end, but I'm so excited. Like everything, like this chapter is so exciting. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me today. I'm so fascinated. The writing is so good for this chapter so far. I may change my mind later, but I don't think so. I had heard rumors that, or passing by thoughts that Fujieda's route was written very, very, very well, and I was very excited to play it. So, alright. Otherwise, if you guys like boys love, do not forget, once again, my podcast, You Can Smooch Tho, a podcast about all things boys love and other related items, is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, I almost said Apple twice, Amazon Music, soon to be available on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for joining me today and for your patience and watching me be buck wild. And, you know, even though I have played 3 routes of the game, I'm still bad at interrogation. So thank you for your patience and thank you for sticking with me. I will see you guys in the next part. So please take care. Have a good day. Love yourself. Stay happy. Stay healthy. Stay well. And we'll get back to Toa and Fujieda very soon. Have a good night. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Good night.